By 2053, the net median income of Black America will fall to $0. And right now, the average Black family in America has about a tenth of the net worth as the average white family.
So the way that we're addressing the wealth gap disparity between Black and white America is that we're focusing on building generational wealth. So making sure that Black America has access just to regular banking.
Our parents, they saved most of their money, was like literally in a sock drawer or like in a cabinet. But even then, like I didn't learn about like high yield savings accounts until I became an adult. In the beginning, I totally was like, oh my God, I'm not getting a loan. I don't want to owe anybody. I just did not know like how wonderful a loan would have been.
When it came to starting your business and getting a loan, and how did that happen? Did you end up going to a bank to get a loan?
I didn't have that. We actually did crowdfunding. It's not easy.
It's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
I think the access to not only understanding, what financial platforms can do to you, but being able to say, okay, how can this relationship and understanding of these finances take our business to this place?
Our community is the sum of all of our parts, not only the people, but also our partners. One of our partners is Visa, and Visa is doing so much in the diversity and inclusion field by working with our platform on things like cryptocurrency and payments. Recognizing that platforms and services like Visa are already very immersed in our community is something that is really helping us build a more robust solution to take our community to new heights. No matter how tough things have been for our community, our solution and our future is bright because we're going to persevere. The solution has and will always be us.
Hello and welcome to the National Small Business Week panel on unlocking the doors to access capital for Black-owned businesses where funders and founders share their real-life stories, sponsored by Visa. Access to capital still leads as one of the biggest challenges facing small business owners today. So it's a phrase we hear all the time, access to capital. So when it comes to talking about launching a small business, but how does a business owner go about unlocking access to capital? And if you don't know what you don't know, how do you find out what you don't know? How are those doors to access to capital any different when we talk about unlocking access for Black and Brown founders? People keep saying there's capital out there. There's money everywhere. And you're out there thinking, but for Black and Brown founders, it's not so easily accessible. There's financial, human, and social capital. They are all important parts of the puzzle. We're here to tell two sides of the story, to provide the POV of unlocking access from a funder position and juxtaposed to the point of view of a founder position. So it's interesting to bring these two conversations together to have an honest talk about how we can move from just talking about how it's necessary to truly unlocking access. Visa and the Black Girl Ventures Foundation are also coming together to tell stories beyond funding and how stats that we'll touch on later in the panel will correlate to a small business owner's real life. Getting small business funding and access to social capital goes beyond job creation. It affects our society and economy as a whole. We are on a mission of creating a more equitable society together. I'm Shelly Omilade Bell. I'm the founder and CEO of Black Girl Ventures. I'm going to introduce my fellow panelists. So today I'm going to start with Dana. Why don't you give us who you are?
Hi, everyone. I'm Dana Todd Pope. I'm a visual artist from Chicago, Illinois. And I have found ways to turn my artwork into products. And currently I have a line called Fearlessly You available on a major platform. We'll talk about it later. But anyway, and I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Shelly.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Donald, tell us a little bit about you.
Thanks, Omi. Donald Hawkins. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of First Boulevard. We're building a neobank, helping Black America reclaim its economic impact and passively build wealth. Super excited to be here with everybody.
Awesome. Glad to have you. Troy.
Hello, my name is Troy Dennis. I am Senior Vice President, Head of Unsecured Lending for Consumer and Small Business here at Regions. I've been in banking for 25 years, managing consumer and small business lending products, and I've also had experience being a founder as well. I owned an express staffing franchise for about 2 years, so very, very important topic for me.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Ihime.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ahime Egbe, and I'm the founder and the CEO of Sweet Kiwi. Sweet Kiwi is a company that makes the best tasting, low calorie yet nutrient dense treats using real ingredients sourced majorly from local makers and farmers within our immediate communities.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so let's jump into it. I'm going to start with the funder side. So many founders ask us so many questions about unlocking access to capital, and we're trying our hardest together with Visa to get them as much information as we can. A recent small business study conducted by Visa earlier this year showed that minority-owned businesses are more likely than their non-minority peers to say they want guidance on loans to help their business cope with financial challenges. 24% minority-owned versus 9% of all others. They are also significantly more likely to want tools to help my business budget or manage cash flow. In fact, 24% minority-owned versus 12% of all others. From your perspective, how can founders better understand the importance of a banking relationship? And how do banks look at the relationships to small business owners?
So I'll take that one. Being that I work in financial services, I think it's really important to understand your bank relationship. I think a lot of times minority business owners don't view bank relationships as partners. And in theory, we are truly here to partner with the small business. And so establishing that close relationship with your local branch, small business banker, and SBA is really critical first step. I know I personally mentor some small business owners or some people who want to think about that avenue, and they don't view the bank as a partnership either from past experiences and being a minority. I think in our past, our connections, I think sometimes we view financial institution and banks as almost a negative versus our counterparts view that as a, hey, this is a partnership. I need your help. I need you to help lend me money. Versus we try to, a lot of times minority business owners try to self-fund the entire thing. And so it's really important to establish those relationships and understand the cash flows that are coming in and open up the appropriate accounts and ask for guidance. And it's okay to say, I don't know. I have a great idea. I have a wonderful business. I don't know. I want to establish, and allow the bank to be a partner along the way.
So you've been in banking for 25 years. I mean, how does a small business owner unlock the doors to better relationships with their bankers? I think that, historically, at some point, especially as the bank started to grow, it was like, hey, you go to the bank to open up an account, and then the person behind the glass maybe is the person that just helps you open it. But there's more to that relationship. So how do you see small business owners being able to unlock that?
Yeah. So, I mean, Shelly, you mentioned it exactly. Today, I think we've been trained to think that person behind the counter at the local branch is just there to open an account. The reality is, many times, most banks, actually all banks, have a small business segment unit that works at that local branch. And so when you schedule that appointment, it's not about opening the branch. Hey, I want to talk about my small business. I want to share this idea. I have established a relationship with you, and I would like to talk to you about kind of funding sources. They could be your interaction between the SBA and help you with loan sources, help you with courses like this, virtual on-demand sessions like this, where you get educate yourself around kind of where you need to go, how to get access to capital. And so building that relationship is understanding that the bank is more than just opening up the checking and savings account for you.
Yeah, I think, historically, it's funny because we've heard over the course of growing up, the banker would be mentioned in the same sentence as like the teacher and the police officer and banker, right? And so, thinking about how small business owners can grow that relationship, I think it is introduced to us at a young age, but somewhere along the way, we lose sight of that. Or like when we start to open our businesses, we're so focused on the grind and maybe we lose sight of there's a person actually in there that can help. I'm gonna throw this next question to Donald. What's currently happening is not fully unlocking access for more business owners. And mainly because we're still following traditional rules of finance, which have historically left out Black communities. What else do you think needs to happen?
No, thanks, Shami. I'm a firm believer, first off, that in our community continue to step out on faith, right? There's a lot of things that we can do internally to be the change that we want to see in the world. Growing up in the South, personally, I've been taught the importance of supporting the community from the inside out. And we all know that entrepreneurs in our community have not always received the same type of support as many other industries. So it's a running joke about Tommy on Martin kind of being the unemployed person in the group. He was probably an entrepreneur. He was always dressed nice, had nice cars. Tommy was doing his thing. We just didn't know exactly what he did, right? But with all that said, entrepreneurs provide the lion's share of Black jobs in our country, right? So we have to also normalize and support entrepreneurship, right? We need kids to be able to believe that they can do the things that many of us are doing right now without it being seen as, extra or too difficult or too risky, right? Because a lot of us, have worked for other companies, other people who have taken those leaps and bounds to run their companies too. We also got to do more than mentor. Like we need to really invest in our communities, and that kind of creates a deeper conversation into even the access to capital, debt from banks, loans from banks, venture capital, grants. There's so many different sources that typically don't look like us that we are forced to go to, to get access to these funds. We should do more in our community. Like, again, mentoring is great. We definitely need that. But we need the wealth in Black America to start investing in a lot of these concepts, ideas, and people. And we also got to play the long game. Like we talk about that all the time. Like I'm a father now, 2 young kids, and I'm putting moves in place now to make sure that my kids' will be taken care of. And as long as we all have that same mindset, I don't mind putting in the work. It's a very selfless, and some selfless and selfish thought, really wanted to make sure that my kids and everybody in my family and that network were taken care of. And lastly, one of my favorite sayings, is the whole reference to that we need a seat at the table. I'm of the mindset that we can create our own seats and own tables, right? There's so many things that we can do, the things that we've persevered as a community, and where we are right now, culturally leading the culture in so many different ways. We can fix a lot of issues ourselves.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I'm going to throw this question out to the two of you, for either one of you to take. I think the cultural competency is interesting, especially around like loans, and what that feels like to people. And what I'm hearing you say, Donald, is around like community, legacy. And what I'm hearing you say, Troy, is around like understanding that banker is a part of the community and that the bank itself is a part of the community. Mm-hmm. How can we further develop the cultural competency, though, inside of the banking industry, or when it comes to loans, like hyper locally, going to get a loan or things that bankers may be assessing in somewhere like, like Baltimore versus DC versus Chicago versus Philly? Are those different things? Like could you help our founders understand some of those tactical pieces behind, like if they're going to get a loan, what could be helpful for them to de-risk themselves, or what should they be thinking about?
I'll take the first stab at that one. It's funny you say that. So I was just in Atlanta yesterday, and I met with a young mentor, and he was trying to establish a small business in a fashion line, and it's funny, had the same conversation, a deep conversation on, hey, I want to, jump, great concept, and hey, I need to get a loan. So I said, hey, let me see your credit report. What does your credit report look like? You have an LLC, all set up right. So where's your bank relationship at? May or may not have that set up yet. And so I think in general, banking is really basic. It's around stability, ability, and willingness to pay, right? And so I learned this early on, right, in my career at banking, and it was really a basic concept, and you take it from your mortgage to your auto loan to your small business. Banks look for what is your stability, and so think about that. Like, what is my stability? If a bank looks at me, they don't know me as Troy, they know me as John, right? Or they look at John, like, what does John look like? Do I look stable? Do I have a checking account? Do I have a savings account? Do I have money deposited into my small business account on a consistent basis to show stability? Ability, what loans do I have? Can I show that I'm paying my rent on time? And willingness to pay, am I paying on time? So you think about those in those three distinct concepts, I think you'll find yourself a long way of unlocking, financial institutions cash. But that is the basic what they're looking for, just across the board.
Wait, I want to get those three again. You said stability, ability, and
willingness to pay.
Willingness to pay.
And so, you talk to a lot, people, and they say, well, I didn't pay that student loan. Or does that Verizon bill really matter? Well, it really does when I'm questioning your stability and your ability, and now your willingness is questioned. I got 3 question marks on you. It's kind of hard to get a loan. And if you say, well, I can't get a loan, well, let's talk about why you can't get it. Let's start working on why you're not getting access to the capital that you need.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to hear from the founder.
Exactly why.
Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I think it's so important for density to be a part of this conversation, right? Because what ends up happening is that when the founders make it to the bank or the VCs or other sources of capital, they don't know those things, right? So now you have, depending on who you're talking to, you created some influence, for better or for worse. Now you have some bankers like Troy who will then see that and go, great, let me help school you up. Here's what you need. What we really need is for founders to be able to reach out to each other. We have to be more vocal, right? To explain to each other, here are the steps. We do that with everything else. The reason our community, jumps into the industries that they do is because we see people doing that. Mm-hmm. That's why entrepreneurship needs to be normalized. There are steps to this thing. Like the seat that I sit in today is a path that I've been able to now go on based on a lot of mistakes that I made in the past. So I can make phone calls and make things happen specifically today because I was in the exact same shoes of that entrepreneur that met with Troy yesterday. Right. But now I'm more vocal about it. I want people to call me. Hey, what do you need to have before you even take that first step? Have you done your customer discovery? Do you have a financial plan put together? Do you have a business plan? So there's so many things that I feel we can do before we even get to those steps, but we have to normalize, what this looks like. And once kids realize that, hey, it is possible for me to run a business, even though I've been watching my mom and dad work for other people their entire life, all of a sudden it's not going to be that big of a deal. My daughter right now knows when we get done with dinner, she takes the receipt and takes a photo because she knows how to expense things now. So that's normal for her, so those are so many of the different things that we can do. But loving this conversation.
I can't wait to get into the founder side because I'm listening to the two of you and I think it's amazing. And I also have some of my founder sides popping up where I'm like having some comments and thoughts. So I can't wait to hear what the founders have to say. And this is going to be a great conversation. I'm back and forth. Okay. So Hime, I'm going to toss it to you first. In the same visa survey I mentioned earlier, the results show that 8% of minority-owned businesses say that access to capital is one of the biggest challenges they face versus 3% of non-minority-owned businesses. This may not seem like a drastic difference, but for many business owners, especially Black women-owned founders, accessing capital usually means it's more than just accessing dollars. Sometimes it's about investing in yourself. Can you talk about how you invested in yourself and what your community means in terms of impacting your access to capital journey?
Yeah. So for me, investing in myself meant that I had to take out my 401k when I started my business. I didn't have a choice. I left my job. I wanted to start this business and I didn't have any other way to fund it. And so I was like, I'll take that 401k, but that came at a cost as well because there's a penalty for taking that out early as well. But that was how I funded the business. And then with my community, I stayed trying to tell people about what I'm doing. I try to be very vocal about my vision, where I'm going, and what I need, just so that sometimes people that you meet can have a piece that you're looking for, or can have information, just like Donald was talking about how to either get more funding or just get enough money. I remember there was a grant that I applied for, and then it got to a point of it, and they said, "Oh, do you have this pay stub, something, something? Because if you don't have any employees on file, you can't get this grant." And I was thinking to myself, but I really need this money. And talking to someone else, I realized I'm an employee too. And so I was able to use that knowledge to actually submit my pay stubs and get the grant. So a lot of just being open to talking to people, because sometimes people tell me like, oh, well, I don't like sharing my vision because someone's going to steal it. Maybe, but they're not going to do it like you, and they're not going to approach it like you. So many people do the same business and they do it in different ways. But connecting with people and speaking to people about my journey has helped me further, and being part of that community. Like, I'm part of many different communities, including Black Gold Ventures. I mean, Shelly's someone that I know. And in fact, we even have a great story together where one day we were doing a shoot and I was like, hey, Shelly, I got into this big retailer. Well, I still have to pitch. Would you help me with my pitch? And she's like, you know what? I can connect you to someone who worked there. And through just that information and that knowledge and that connection, we're about to launch into our biggest retailer next year, just from speaking up and being vocal about what I need. And for me, that's the impact of community pushing you to access more resources, because in that conversation and in the meeting that Shelly set up for me, I was able to get better coaching and better understanding of how to show up at the actual pitch.
Yeah, I want to, that, by the way, that was Walmart. So this was, major. And Ehime will be launching in 250 to 500 stores. Is that right, Ehime?
Yes.
Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, it was here's the thing though, and I'll keep it all the way real and transparent, is that we were at this shoot and I think I was eating when she walked up and she's like, hey, I'm going to need some help. I'm about to pitch to Walmart and I just want to get refine my pitch. And I gave her my phone and I said, okay, email this dude and tell him that I said, hey, we need to meet because I have a founder that needs to meet with you. CC yourself. And then let's have this meeting. Now, some founders would have been like, I'm not doing that. Like you have to, and she knows that I didn't mean anything by that. I was literally in the middle of just eating. I had sprained my ankle. Like it was a whole lot. So, but I'm like, we're going to do this. And so, she sent the email immediately. He sent the calendar invite. We had the meeting. I learned something. She learned something. Like it was really, really great. And then come to find out, he ended up being the actual merchant was going to be her buyer for her section. And I had no idea. So
he didn't even till the end.
Yeah, that's right. So you just never know, and there's people out here who do want to see you win, and to the point. But here's the thing I want to point out though, because I love to draw this together, because I think founders sometimes think they're saying something different from what the funders are saying. But let's take a look at this story a little deeper. So Troy brought up three things. He brought up stability, ability, and willingness to pay. And Donald brought up using your community. Well, in a part of Ehime's story, she actually brought both of those things together because she took out her 401k. Mm-hmm. So now we know she has the lump sum of money and she has the ability to pay. And now because she took the move to even take her 401k out, we know she has the willingness to move forward, right? And then she talks about using her community and being vocal. And Ehime's story is amazing. She's all about being vocal. She's like, I'm not going to sit here and not have. I'm going to ask everybody I know. And sometimes there's a fear around that. So just wanted to draw that together because I think sometimes we think we're saying different things. But actually, if you look at the back end of our stories, we're kind of saying the same things to each other, right? All right,
and
Dana.
All the people watching.
Oh. No, go ahead.
I was going to say all the people watching now know that Ehime's story is possible for them too, because a lot of people start up in very similar circumstances. So now somebody's sitting on the edge, like, wait a minute, I got a 401k. I can get connected to Shelly Bell, right? So there are things now that they know one step away, sometimes one phone call, one email from huge opportunities, but you just got to act. So hats off and congrats again, Ahime. It's huge.
Thank you. And I just wanted to add one thing about community, because I think that I had that fear also about stepping outside of myself and joining all these communities, but I had to push myself. You know, I a lot of times I just jump into stuff and I don't think about it, because when I think about it, I get afraid of the no's. I had a friend just yesterday, Kendra, you know her, we were talking about we need to publish just how many no's that we get, because sometimes people look at your Instagram reel and they're like, she's always winning. I'm like, for every win that I get, I've gotten like 100 no's. You just don't get to see that. But I don't get down. I pick myself up and I jump into the next thing. So you have to keep pushing, keep going.
For sure. Jumping into, bring you into the conversation, Dana. Going back to that same visa study also showed that minority-owned businesses often seek help from their financial institutions or other financial experts. 86% say they've used any resource. Compare that to 50% of non-minority counterparts. As a small business owner of an art business, which this is what I'm so glad to have you a part of the conversation, because I think sometimes the businesses that people traditionally see on these panels and a part of, like, you know, amazing engagements like this one, is usually more traditional businesses or tech, or, you know, we don't often see an artist. We don't often see how the creators and the makers of the world are doing it if it's not about having a fashion line, right? And so I love that. How can founders and funders work together to provide greater access, or funders work to provide greater access and networking for founders like you who don't have such traditional businesses?
Yeah, as an artist, I run into a lot of roadblocks. A lot of people don't view me as an entrepreneur, even though, you know, I'm an independent artist. Like if I don't create things and sell them, I don't eat. And so I've had to find my way around certain roadblocks that I come into, certain mindsets that kind of, you know, I don't know, if I'm an independent artist, I don't see how I'm not viewed as an entrepreneur. I don't know how that works. But anyway, so I've had to prove myself and position myself in a way that makes me worthy of financial support. So since December, I've received $34,000 in grants, including I got the Visa She's Next grant. Thank you, guys. And it's been very helpful. But what's really helped me the most, like Ahime said, finding a community. Black Girl Ventures, I'm a part of a lot of communities as well, but Black Girl Ventures is probably my primary community. I talk to those women like daily. And there were a lot of things that I didn't know that I needed to know, but I didn't know that I needed to know. And so I just went into the community, and because Black Girl Ventures is a place where you can be very vulnerable and open about what you're going through and your struggles as a Black woman founder, and you know, there's a shorthand there. People just understand where you're coming from automatically. I was able to just find out information, and just even listening to other people's conversations and seeing how they were strategizing for their businesses. I just found out so much information about ways to get funded. As an artist, I would apply to artist grants and things like that. And because I wasn't well connected and I'm a self-taught artist, I would get shut down a lot. And so I just stopped applying for things. But then through Black Girl Ventures, I figured out that there are ways that I can apply for business grants as a business owner. And I started doing that, and I got a lot of no's. And every time I would apply, I would save my answers and refine them. And I would watch pitch competitions and watch how they would answer questions. And then I would just refine that language until I got to the place where I started getting grants. So there is money out here. You just, you know, sometimes it's about positioning yourself to receive it.
I like that. Almost like a workout, right? Where it's like you got to get your reps in. I mean, no's are part of it. Yeah, no's are a part of it. No's are not separate from it. Yeses are also a part of it. Right. I love that. I think that's great community wise. One thing you brought up and I'm going to toss it to, look at that. Where I want to toss it to, well, this is open for anyone, but for the banks and how you look at it, Donna and Troy, who is a business owner? Now, this is like such a hot question to ask because it's not fully defined anywhere. But I would say if you have established an LLC and you have generated some revenue, is that enough to say now you are a business owner? What are your thoughts, panel?
I want to say
Kick us off, Troy.
I want to say you're a business owner before you establish an LLC, before you establish some revenue. I mean, you're a business owner the day you give birth to that concept, the day you believe in yourself that you are a business owner. I mean, that's come from financial institutions, financial services, and we have all these other rules. But the reality is it's in your heart, right? You're a business owner the day that seed is planted in you. Now, how you fertilize it and water it and give birth, all that is the fruit that's going to come forth. But you're a business owner. Don't allow the revenue numbers and all those things to say, "Oh, I'm not a business owner," because then you'll be discouraged by the no's, right? And you say, "I'm not really a business." No, you're a business owner the day that you say that, the day that you plant that seed and you have made that concept in your head. You're a business owner. The rest of the part is just part of the process. That Donald said is part of the process, and there's a key, and there is definitely a process to it. And the more that we learn that process, it won't be easy, but the higher our success rates as minorities will be.
Oh, I love that. And Donald, some investors may disagree. What would and it definitely in the beginning in your heart, you can't show stability, ability, and willingness to pay yet. But what are your thoughts, Donald?
We're living in some cool times right now. I mean, there are options that business owners have now that simply didn't exist years ago, right? Platforms like Republic and WeFunder now, I mean, you have a lot of companies that are raising the capital they need without going the venture route, getting it from the community. You have the NFT space, where people are building communities around JPEGs, right? I mean, billions of dollars now flowing through those processes as well. So I think a lot of us, and for a lot of entrepreneurs that are out there building businesses, going back to the basics, right? Treating your concept like a real business, recognizing who you are and where you are as well, right? I had the conversation yesterday around a lot of Black-owned businesses. We either come to the party too late or sometimes too early. Like, plan things out. Everybody on this panel, especially the founders that have been able now to get grants and other types of capital, if you could go back at the very beginning, you could likely be, significantly better placed than you are now. But it took the journey. Our job has to be finding, those other entrepreneurs just now getting interested in getting something going, to skip steps and see around corners. I mean, so right now, if you're looking for, initial capital to get it out of the way, you can find people in your hometown, people that you went to high school with, your LinkedIn network, throw up a crowdfunding campaign, get that initial $20,000 to $30,000. And then what's the next step? Where's that $20,000 to $30,000 going to take you? If you know you're going to initially need a loan, you can reverse engineer that. Like, you can talk to a banker today and say, "Hey, listen, I want a loan eventually for $200,000. What do you need to see?" And the bankers will tell you, "Well, we're going to need to see your business operating for at least XYZ months or years, and you're going to need to be bringing at least XYZ in monthly recurring revenue." You can plan towards that, right? So there's so many different things that I feel people have access to today, with, again, bank funding, VC funding, crowdfunding, that can really move the needle. So I'm excited. So many opportunities.
I love that. Okay, because I'm about to toss it to you anyway, Dana.
Okay.
But I was going to say that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go.
I just wanted to add that also I have been, expanding my ecosystem, right? my business ecosystem. So there are a lot of organizations here in Chicago and that have accelerators or might have a little class here and there. A lot of the information, okay, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. A lot of the classes want you to kind of plan out the same thing. So once you have your business plan, you can kind of go through the class and just cut and paste and do the homework or whatever. But in doing that, you build a relationship with these organizations, right? So when you need something, you can pick up the phone and call them and they know you and it's not a cold call. There's an organization here in Chicago. They already know. I have them on speed dial whenever I need something and they help me find it. And so that's important too. There are resources in your own backyard that you need to take advantage of as well. So save your answers to everything. I'm telling you, you're going to need it again. So
I love that. One of the things I wanted to bring in though, and Hime or Dana, you may be able to speak to this, is that sometimes I think that, after you've gotten some capital or been in a position to gain more access to knowledge of what it takes, it's easy for us to say, oh yeah, why don't you just go ahead. It's out there. Go out, walk out the door, make a right. And then it's going to be at the end of the hall, and it's like, there's some founders watching this from home and it just doesn't feel that way. And I know, for us that have been founders, you understand that deeply. What was the pivotal moments for you though? So like Dono, Hime, and Dana, like what was the pivotal moment where you were like, oh, I can't go out the door and around the corner and get this? Like, what was that moment?
I would say for me, go ahead.
Oh no, I would talk a lot.
I would say for me, it was definitely just signing up for like accelerators and learning. And every time I would do a new one, like I did a food accelerator before I launched my product. And I felt like, oh, I know it all. And then you get on the shelf and people are talking to you about EDI and all this stuff. And you're just like, wait, what was that? And it's like, oh, I don't know. I still don't know. And then I did another one. And I realized that I also had to be honest with myself. What are my strengths? What am I really good at in my business? And I realized a very tight spot for me was finances. And so I reached out to someone who was part of one of my accelerator. He was just a student like me. And he just knew finances better. He's run a major company doing something else, and then he started his own business. And so we started doing coaching every Thursday. He literally walked me through doing a balance sheet like I was a 5-year-old. But that was fine because that's what I needed. And that's what I needed to learn. And just reaching through my network to find cheaper ways of learning the things that I don't. And right now I'm part of the California Mill Board Accelerator. And all the things that I'm learning now, I'm just like, wow, mind blown. Like there's never a thing that comes along where I feel like, oh, I'm too advanced for this or I don't need this. You never know what you're going to pick up and you never know what you're going to learn. So always take the position of I'm new to this because there's always something to learn. There's always someone to learn from. Always be open to knowledge and even being like part of your community. Like when we're talking about like, how do you even like raise more money? Like one of the things I realized when I did Black Gold Ventures was initially I was thinking, oh, I have to call people and then tell them to please vote for me and they have to pay. I'm so embarrassed that I have to do that. But what I learned was a lot of people didn't know what I did. Not that they didn't know, well, they knew that I made this, but they didn't know how far I'd come and what I was really doing. But then I realized I thought people were just going on there and making the payment. I realized they were watching the pitch because I would get a message saying, oh my gosh, you're done so much. Congratulations. What do you need? Like what support do you need? Or do you need this? And I realized I'm not telling even my own family and friends what I am doing enough because there was a whole surprise every time they would watch my pitch.
Wow. Thank you for that. Yeah, that is powerful. Thank you. I love that so much. I don't know, Dana, did you want to add something?
I just wanted to say, you were talking about getting no's and failures or, failures. I don't really view failure as failure anymore. I view it as an opportunity to learn what I was missing, to refine it, to move to the place that I was trying to go. So a failure is definitely not a failure. Don't feel bad. Say, oh, okay. So they told me no. Let me figure out why. Let me keep learning. Like Hime said, every day I get up, and right now, because of the pandemic, there is so much information out here for free that would cost thousands of dollars normally. A lot of accelerators have opened their doors for free or a reduced rate because of the pandemic. And also, you're able to join accelerators that are in different cities because of the because of the pandemic. So there are opportunities to just broaden your knowledge that you should really take advantage of. So many things for free. I'm queen of the free. Like I'm like, if it's free, I'm trying to get it. But yeah, so definitely, and don't be discouraged when you hear a no. Just say, okay, let me refine this. Let me see what I said. Oh, and you'll probably find something that you need to change or alter and build on. And it's a constant refinement, constant. So just have that mindset. You're constantly refining. You never reach that end point ever, ever.
Awesome.
I've got nothing new to add other than just expounding on some points that these queens just made, because there's a lot of nuggets they just dropped. I think one of the biggest ones is what Ehime said about know thyself. Like go old school with that one, right? Be honest, right? If you know that you're weak in a specific portion of your business, do exactly what Ehime did. Like make that a strength, or find somebody that can join your team, to do exactly that for you. I mean, it's so critical. So many of us, we stay fixed on a certain point, but entrepreneurship, it's not linear. I mean, you're going to go with so many ups and downs. Like if I could tell you all the things that I was dealing with just before this call, you wouldn't even believe it. A lot of really cool things happening, but it's always something, right? And the other big point that I think they both made is know when you go into it from the very beginning, it is going to be a journey. It is not going to go how you anticipate it to go. Your job is to ride on top of that wave, learn from it, right? Stay in the middle. Things will be great. Some things will not be so great, but your job is to anticipate those things, but continually get better and better each day. I mean, so I wish y'all could just take those snippets from just Ehime and Dana. I mean, a lot of nuggets they just dropped right there.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to add to that, as you guys said, I was a franchise. I owned a franchise. I owned a staffing company. It was franchise number six staffing company in the country. And what I learned from that training, and it's very structural, right? They tell you exactly how to do it. And what I learned in Hime and system, really expand your network. You have to have an elevator pitch. You have to be able to tell everyone exactly what you do. When you introduce yourself, you should practice in front of the mirror every day and say, "Hi, I'm Troy. I'm John. This is what I do. I do this. And how are you?" And don't be. And I think sometimes being minority, diverse candidate, we get afraid to tell our story. But it's okay to tell our story and expand your network, not by people that just look like you. Go outside your comfort zone, and you'll just be amazed how open that people are to hear your story and how much they can help you in terms of financing, open up new doors, and it's so open. So that's the nugget I would leave you with. Tell your story and go beyond your network.
Well, Troy, I'm starting to feel like your name is really John. Are you Troy? No,
I am really Troy.
All right. Well, that was so awesome. I mean, I was going to ask, is there anything you wanted to leave everybody with? But I feel like y'all just gave it all there. But is there anything, before we jump into Q&A, is there anything that you would love to leave people with?
Well, I'll just say one of my mottos is to be like water. Always be ready to go with the flow. Water is the strongest element, not because of its actual strength, but because of perseverance. You need to be able to be persistent and persevere. So always be like water.
I love that.
I would say don't be, like Hime said, don't be afraid to ask for what you need. Like, people are really, what I found is people are really willing to help me, like even strangers. They see what I'm trying to accomplish, and I got a free booth at a major expo because someone who had literally just met me said, "Oh, someone didn't show up. You want this whole booth by yourself?" I said, When he got my stuff and set up. So you just never know. Just don't be afraid to tell people. You don't give away all your secret sauce or anything, but don't be afraid to tell people what you're trying to accomplish, and be willing to learn and accept help. You don't have to do it by yourself.
That's right. That's right.
I'm going to say what I like to leave people with, just a statement. We are the ones we've been waiting for. It's us.
We use that at BGV. That's awesome.
I would like this to restate stability, ability, willingness to pay, and plan. Plan for your future. Write it down and plan.
I love it. Thank you to Visa and the SBA for National Small Business Week hosting this panel. We're going to jump into some questions. I think some nuggets that people drop: stability, ability, and willingness to pay. Love that. I think building community. I heard a lot about that. And what I'm hearing is relationship building and reputation management. Your payments, like you paying, that's your reputation. Your no's also count. You don't have to say yes to everything, right? So, and what you say yes to also counts, right? So when you say no to accelerators, no to trainer, no to incubators, no to going into the bank to talk to a banker, yet that you're also maybe saying yes to your financial fears, and yes to not wanting to look at your credit, and yes to, so you got to think about what you're saying yes and no to, and what chances you're willing to take when you want someone else to take a chance on you. So let's jump into some of these questions. We have a lot of people blowing up the chat, which I love. Okay, so one person asked, "Do I need a business plan set up prior to gaining access to capital?" I think that's a good question for the bank. So I am not a fan of 20-page business plans, but I think the bank still ask for them. I'm a business plan canvas kind of girl. But what have you seen, Troy, in terms of like, do you need a plan set up prior to gaining access to any capital, or is it just certain kinds of capital?
I think it's certain types of capital, and I'm not a business plan, a 20-page business plan. In reality, is most banks don't really have time to look at 20-page business plan, but know how to write a P&L, understand how to write a cash flow, understand that this is your projected cash flow, this is your projected income, this is what you're projecting sales, and be able to articulate how you're going to get those sales. That's important. Having a 20-page, I'm not a deck person, and so having a 20-page deck that tells you nothing, but a really strong 2-3-page cash flow analysis on what, because remember, banks are financial institutions. That's all they really care about is money, right? If I loan you this money, are you going to pay it back? I mean, that's basic. If I give you this money, are you going to pay it back? And so business plans don't tell you that. Someone who's thought through a cash flow and has a plan on how that's going to work, how that cash flow makes sense, is that's what I would leave you with.
Donna, I'm going to toss this
like that.
Oh wait, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dana.
I just wanted to say, I feel like you do need a business plan initially, just to help you kind of work out the kinks in what you're trying to accomplish. You learn a lot through the process of creating a business plan, and it's going to change. It's not going to matter really, but it just helps you think out what you're really trying to do, and it'll keep you from falling into some things that aren't as well thought out because you didn't write a business plan. So I would say that.
Donna, I'm going to throw this next one to you, so maybe you could put those two answers together. And it talks about, how do you establish the relationships, and what if you don't have a bank in your area? I think the efforts you're working on could be interesting for this question. So, what does that look like? I think there's a lot of assumptions about what people have in their area, right? Like great internet connectivity. That's not true across the country, right? Having these incubators and accelerators around, which I love Dana pointing out. In the pandemic, we get to kind of break the barriers of of city access and, across states. What are your thoughts, Donald? How do you establish a relationship, and what if you don't have a bank in your area?
Yeah, thanks, Omi. Quick piggyback off of Dana's comment. That business plan is for you, right? That's to help you think your process through. So don't even worry about who else needs to see it first. There's a lot of steps to your business that you're not even going to think about until much further down the line.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to put in the work to put that together, you got some other issues you got to look into. But put the time in. Going back to that question, Omilade, I feel when you want to develop relationships, make sure that it's not transactional. Go into those conversations, with what you can offer up to the person that you're looking to pull from as well. I think that's one thing we all have to be able to work on. Not that one-off, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business and I need your time. Like everybody on this panel knows that one of the most precious investments that we have in commodities is our time, right? Especially those of us, with kids too, like it is hard to cut a day up for that. But I'm happy to give up my time, for someone that I know is also willing to provide me value too. I'm not asking for it, but it's good to know that it's there. So some of those methods would be, look at the people that you like to emulate and reverse engineer. Who's in their network? What was their journey to get to where they are now? Who can you connect with on LinkedIn? Simple things like liking somebody's post on LinkedIn, replying to a comment saying, hey, congratulations, before you decide to reach out and say, hey, this is a cold message. I know you don't know me. I would love to get an hour of your time to discuss my business. Versus, I've been following this person for a month. I've been sharing their posts, responding back. They've been responding back to my comments on their comments. Now, all of a sudden, I'm developing a relationship. That person wants to invest a little bit more of their time with me as well. And that's when I say giving to someone, it doesn't have to be a specific skill set. It could literally just be your time, your comments, your goodwill towards them as well. But relationships are the key to all of this. My hope is that we continue as a panel, as a community, increase our bandwidth in our own network. So when you reach out to anybody on this panel, then we can also open up, an innumerable amount of doors as well. But everybody has to rise, at that level.
Yeah, I love that. One of the questions here is about business credit. We didn't talk a whole lot about credit, but it asks, how do you get a business loan for a startup without a business credit score? Is business credit something that you've engaged with or had any learnings around for the whole panel?
I guess. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I did a program with the DC government where they would do some financial training for you and then give you a loan as well, just to start to build your credit. But then you also have to do your part by registering with the credit company. I think it's called Duns.
Duns and Bradstreet. Dun and Bradstreet.
Yeah, Duns and Bradstreet. We had to do the registration, and not only just the loan from the DC government, but also with our suppliers as well, negotiating credit with our suppliers where we don't pay 30 days out and then they have to report it. And if they don't report it, you can send the invoices to Duns and Bradstreet to ensure that that's being reported, and that's how you can build your credit. So there are little other ways that you can get credit to start to build up your credit. It was stuff that I learned as I started my journey. And I wanted to say just to what you had spoken about, just in terms of building relationships with people. I had added this buyer on LinkedIn, but I didn't say anything to him for a long time. I would just like his post when he gets promoted. I'm like, congratulations, little things. And then I'll post stuff of myself as well. And the other day I posted that, hey, I got into this California Dairy Accelerator. And then he emails me right away. Like he DMs me like, hi, I'm the frozen buyer. I would like to get to know more about you and your products. And I was just like, oh my God, did you know I was stalking you the whole time? It's just pretending. And he's like, LOL, let's catch up, like send me an email. Here's my email. But it's so true what you said. Like I always tell people when you meet someone, think about 2-3 things you can add value to that person first before you have an ask.
Yeah, you don't just walk up to someone on the first date and propose, right? It's like, let's, marry me today. It's like, wait, hold on, can we eat first? So I think, the growing those relationships is super important. One person asked, how do you prove stability in these uncertain times? We've seen businesses have to close their doors. Those business owners may want to pivot. How is stability, ability to pay, and willingness to pay changed or shifted through the pandemic?
I don't think it has shifted. I think we've provided some. I think some small business has some leniency. I think standards have been loosened a little bit. I think that, but I don't think it's weakened. Right? We're still looking at deposit balances. We're still looking at cash flow. We are taking. Banks are taking some. Okay, yep, they're in the middle of the pandemic. This happened. We understand this happened. It's an opportunity, actually, for some things. You may not have all your I's dotted and all your T's crossed. It's actually an opportunity for some small businesses, some minority small businesses, to get started because they don't have to have all the details around what they would have had pre-pandemic. So if you were to pull the stats, you probably would see an explosion of female and minority-owned business that have actually grown during the pandemic. And that's because of the access to capital, because some of that criteria has been loosened because of some of the extra funds that come available through the various state grants. And so I think actually right now, is an excellent time for small business. You have a concept, it's to go after that money and go get it.
What kind of trends, business trends are you seeing, Ihime or Donald or Dana, through the pandemic for yourself or for others?
I have seen a lot of grants for especially Black women business owners. So I have like a little Instagram, what do you call it? Chat with some Black men business owners. And when I come across a grant that they're eligible for, I'll send it to them, because there are, I find that a lot of Black men business owners have difficulty finding grant information. So it's probably like 5 of them. And I just send it to them when I come across things and, wish them the best. But I'm for Black women every day. Like there are so many grants right now for Black women business owners.
Dana, we'll be all right. We can come work for y'all. I'm okay with that.
Right.
We can come work for y'all. I definitely think, with so many people staying at home, that opens up a lot of opportunity, people doing things online. Our country has been forced to become digital first, because, we just went a year and a half or so without really being able to go to specific locations. I know that's happened a lot in the banking space and a lot of other industries too. I've never seen as many insurance companies pop up over the last 2 years as I have with all of these new insurance companies for auto, health, life. So people are starting to realize that it's not all about the brick and mortar locations. It's services and offerings. And piggybacking off of one of the comments that Troy made also, just around stability, I also think it's important for entrepreneurs to remember that no business is ever closed, or the primary reasons that business is closed because they run out of money. So also think about ways that you can control your expenses. Can you cut back on staff, or there's specific types of software that you can utilize. Like that also helps you get a little bit more stability when you start to think about terms like burn rate and runway. There's some levers that you can control to help create a little bit more stability in your business. And never fall too much in love with an idea where, like, even though you see things are going the opposite direction, that goes back to one of the comments that Hime said about being like water. Stay on top of that water, right? If you have to pivot and adjust your business model to create more stability or more opportunities, you got to make those moves. Like don't fall in love, with the baby, if you will. Always be willing to change.
Yes, don't call your business a baby, because hopefully one day you sell your business and you never sell your baby. And with that said, this has been an amazing panel. Thank you so much to all of my guests. Ihime Egbe, Troy Dennis, Dana Todd Pope, and Donald Hawkins. We really, really appreciate you, all of your words. This has been amazing. Make sure you follow at Black Girl Ventures on Instagram and at BGirlVentures on Twitter, because we will be continuing the conversation with Instagram Lives. And we're putting out a resource guide to access the capital just for you over the coming weeks. We want to thank Visa and the SBA and SCORE for this amazing panel. Enjoy the rest of the Small Business Week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks so much, y'all. Great job.
Bye.